Welcome, everybody, to our fourth episode of Black Dance Stories. Look at us. Look at us. Yeah. Here's a note about why we're here. Our dance world was pummeled by COVID-19.
Welcome, everybody, to
And
our
Black dance artists are finding ways to talk about life during this time. Our world was further turned upside down after horrible events ensued nationally and globally, bringing attention yet again to the need for the Black Lives Matter moment. Black dance artists have not been quiet since. Black dance artists have been doing the work. Black dance artists continue to make work. To stay involved, we hold these weekly impromptu discussions and tell stories. Black dance stories. This is one action, and we promise that we will stay involved. We, all of these beautiful faces right here, are a community working together to support, uphold, highlight, and celebrate Black creatives. Tonight is our fourth of what we hope will be many stories told in the artist's own voices. If this is your first time joining us, another big welcome, and be sure to come back. Tonight is Rennie Harris and Jay Bouey's turn. Boom! But let me first introduce you to almost all of our team. I'll go first. I am Charmaine Warren. I am a Jamaican. I am the great-granddaughter of Ida Boyd, granddaughter of Solomon Goldson, and daughter of Theophilus Warren and my 94-year-old mother, Pearline Warren, who lives in Jamaica. I am a non-disabled Black woman. I live in Montclair, New Jersey, with my husband, who you'll meet in just a second, Tony Turner, on the stolen land of the indigenous Lenape people. Our daughter, Ashe Turner, a Black ballerina with locks, is going into her junior year at Boston Conservatory. I have locks that are wrapped up in an earth tone African print. I'm wearing large Adinkra earrings and a tan tank top. Behind me are photos of our family, a large plant, a lamp, and African masks. I love dance. And I'm here with my friends Kimani Fowlin and Nick Hall, and even more folks who will introduce themselves because of my love for dance as a performer and because of all the gifts that I've received and will always share. I promise you that. I turn it over now to Kimani.
Thank you, Charmaine. And it is a true gift to be here with you and everyone. I am coming to y'all from the village of Harlem on stolen Lenape land. I am a Black woman and I live with my 9-year-old son. I am the granddaughter of Lucille Madison, recently transitioned at 104. I teach because of her, daughter of Ronald Augustus Fowlin, Jamaican warrior, and Anne Fowlin, Renaissance woman. I dance because of them. My son Tamayo keeps me present with the fascination of a blossoming young visual artist. So at this point in time, I'm gonna pass it to, are you ready, Charmaine?
Yes.
To Nick. We bow
down to Nick.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nick Hall. I'm Haitian American. I was born in Brooklyn to Sheila and Curtis Hall. My family, including my sisters Isabella and Victoria, now live in Montclair, which is on stolen Lenape land. I'm a recent graduate of the Fordham Ailey BFA program. I'm currently in a white room wearing a denim shirt, and behind me there are twinkling lights. And I'm also the digital media manager for Black Dance Stories. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to the amazing Tony Turner.
Whoop, whoop, Tony!
Thank you, Nick. I'm Tony Turner. I'm the son of Wanza and Joy, the youngest son of Wanza and Joy Turner, who are two amazing people. My father was a graphic artist and photographer. I am a graphic artist and photographer. As the youngest of 7 children, we're all artists. I am on, once again, stolen land of the Lenape people. And I come to you today with a heart full and a heart that's dancing. anxious to hear and waiting for these Black dance stories. Now I'm going to pass it to Gabe Daco.
Hey guys, my name is Gabriel Deco. I'm also on the stolen land of the Lenape people. I work in IT. I do web design and web development, and I also love Black dance. And I can't wait to hear these stories. And I'm going to pass it right back to Kamani.
I got it. Thank you, Gabe. Thank you all. This is our family, in front of the scenes, behind the scenes. It's a beautiful Black family, and we are so grateful that you are joining us. I want to remind you that this can't happen without the generosity of your donations. So thank you so much for considering. And Nick will place it in the chat. You'll see the link trees that you can reach the amazing Rennie Harris and Jay Bouey and Black Dance Stories, so you can help to keep this going. We don't want it to end. I just want to quickly let you know we do have a wish list so that you can be aware of some of the things that we want: a website, an ASL interpreter, blog, administrative assistance, which might be coming soon, official stories for archiving, computer and streaming equipment. We want this to keep going. It is important. It is so important. So thank you for being here. And without further ado, I turn it back to
Nick.
Nick. Nick.
It's more of a dance, more dancing.
Woo!
And one last thing, just wanted to ask everyone to mention your names in the chat right now so we can see who's there. A big part of Black Dance Stories is creating that community. So we want to be a part of your community and we want you to be a part of ours. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Charmaine.
I caught it. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Nick. Yes. And just a reminder, if you don't already know, as Nick said, drop your names in the chat, but for sure, drop your questions, and towards the end, we'll come back and respond to your questions, but talk amongst yourselves, And right now, I am so happy to introduce, you like that voice? The one and only Lorenzo Harris, come on in. Oh, we forgot to cheers, but come on in, Rennie, with your cheers. Come on in, everybody. Kimani, Rennie, Nick, cheers, cheers. All right, Rennie. Lorenzo,
Bye,
what
everyone.
you got to say? Bye, Kimani, bye, Nick. Lorenzo, what you got to say? Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Well, you forgot to unmute me too?
Oh, don't start there, Lorenzo. Lorenzo, what you got to say?
I have no clue.
Really?
I mean, I have lots of stuff to talk about, but I have a hard time. Often have a hard time. I mean, once you push the button, you can't stop me. I'm like,
I know that.
But yeah, I'm one of those people that if I saw you, at the bus stop, I wouldn't say anything to you. Unless you spoke. I mean, I kind of come from that era of like, children are meant to be seen, not heard. So I'm so used to not I'm not a conversation starter.
The crazy thing is people don't know that you're shy.
People
don't know that you're shy.
Yeah, man. Like, I'm on right now, like, right? So it's like, and here's the craziest part. Like when I was really nervous, still am, right? But the more nervous I get, the more like, I get crazy, and you're like, all right, Rennie, calm down. So I think having the drink is like the balancer. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's a little bit of that white lightning in there. You can't tell.
Oh boy, what do you mean white?
Look like lemonade.
Oh,
it's that old school. I got connects down south. What you talking about? I get the real situation. I can't be messing around with all the other stuff. I gotta know what's going in it, man. Once in a while, if I'm out, yeah, sometimes I just, but that's a treat to do. It's like having a Twinkie. It's like a treat. It's like that moment when you feel me ramping up now.
I love it.
I just noticed that I was doing it. It's like that moment when in the Matrix when the dude is sitting there and he's eating the steak and he goes, I know this steak isn't real, but ignorance is bliss. And he just that's that's how I feel about food. Like I know it's bad for me. I know it's like I go because I come from I'm a processed baby, right?
Mm-hmm.
I came from non-processed into processed. So when we were younger, we didn't really have a lot of processed food. But then as the industry changed, we, of course, we got all the sort of processed food. But so yeah.
Did you move that into your dance world? Non-process to process?
Did I move non-processed to process? That's interesting because I always felt like I never had a process, right?
Mm.
And I still kind of feel like that. People are like, oh, what you going to teach? I'm like, I don't know what I'm teaching. I'm teaching or what you going to create. Like often, I think the Ailey work that I just did was the first time I wrote all these notes because he had told me, Robert Battle told me like a year out.
Mm-hmm.
I basically couldn't move. You know what I mean? For people who may not know, I had severe arthritis in both hips for the last almost 10 years, 7 years. Most of it was me pushing through the pain of it and hiding it well, pushing, walking and rest, figuring out my situation until it got to the point where I was counting steps and I could only take about 5 to 10 steps before I, had to sit down. However, I could still do, and I attribute this to muscle memory. I could still dance for like a good strong 30 seconds. And so I would when I heard the music and I just like couldn't take it no more, just the music alone would just get me up and I would just go and you wouldn't think anything was wrong with me. But you see from that time to now, like progression of, weight, I gained a lot of weight. I wasn't moving. I couldn't move. The doctor had said he was surprised that I was even able to walk. By this time, 2 years ago before the surgeries, I was in a wheelchair half the time. Nobody didn't know that though. So I'm telling y'all now. But it was actually amazing being in a wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I felt like general love. And that was odd. You know what I mean? Like people opened doors for me. People went out of their way to help me. And yeah, like that life was, I was like, I like this. I got on planes before everybody, they pushed me, and people were getting held up for dumb shit. They just pushed me right on through. Like, so it was odd watch, like being in that world as basically disabled. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyway, so Ailey was the first time because I was extremely scared because I can't move. Now, up until this point, I was teaching, but teaching from a chair, and which was great. The whole process was great because the whole moment was great was because I figured out how to communicate verbally to dancers what I wanted, and specifically dancers who worked with me before understood my language, right? And what I meant by this. And even if some of the language or terminology I was using was not the terminology that most hip hoppers or house dancers or street dancers use, which that I use to create to do my own thing. And so it was the first time. So my process changed. It was the first time I actually wrote down for a year all my ideas, all the music, all the samples of music that I wanted. Like if I heard a bell that was kind of like reminded me of something, I took the name down of that song, sent it to Darren Ross, who's my friend from, my childhood friend who's been doing my music for years. And And I'm like, yo, this is the sound I want from this little bell, whatever it was. And it was literally got down to that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like certain sounds were sort of like, I knew these sounds would, you know, as we all do, you know, as a choreographer, you know, certain things would like give people a certain feeling. And so anyway, so I started processing. And now with COVID, I had to go back to that methodology, I guess. You know, I still like just not knowing what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to teach. I don't have a lesson plan. And the reason why, because to me, that's hip hop. Honestly, you know, it's all about uh, moving from the top of your head and using your foundation and what you were taught, your structure, your process. You use that in cases of emergency. Like, you know, as an artist, we all get we get blocked, right? We don't know what to do. There you go. Go to technique. Go to to your foundation. That's when that stuff works for me. Other than that, I don't need it. You know, because each group of folk, even my dancers, dance completely different. How I dance, they're never going to dance the way I dance. And they're never, in my opinion, going to get exactly what it is that I'm exactly trying to get them to do. And so that means I have to have a level of a moment where I just accept what they're throwing back at me. But I'm gonna push it until they get close to the idea of it. Anyway, you know how it goes as a choreographer. So this was a different process. I'm now learning to process, and COVID got me going. I made 2 pieces. I'm creating all the ideas for them. One of them right now is called Losing My Religion. And the other one's called American Street Dancer.
Do you want to talk about those? Wait, but first we have to say the piece for Ailey is called Lazarus. You didn't say that. So Lazarus. Right? And then...
You're supposed to believe I was stuck. I was trying to be stuck.
You were messing with me? Rennie Harris? That's not funny. That's not funny, Rennie Harris. Lorenzo.
There you have it.
So Lazarus. And
Yes.
Ailey actually shared it on their All Access a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, they shared it. So talk more about the new pieces that you're doing. And you told me about some of the things that you've been doing while under lockdown. Want to share some of that?
Oh yeah, well that was part of it. Losing My Religion was about, you know, I mean, you know what's going on has been always in many ways, in a way, depreciating anything that's happening now. But this has been our history, right? It's my mother's history, my grandmother, my uncles. They all went through it. They were all beat up police. My son was a victim of police brutality, right? And so we often this is the, you know, when we're Black folk, we just move in, and often, you know, we know what's happening. We speak about it. And once in a while, when the rappers are feeling nice and, you know, they're going to say something, then they say something, right? And then when you do say it, people don't believe it and that kind of thing. And so you kind of you get used to, it's interesting how we just got used to well, okay, nobody's really believing us. Let's just keep it moving, because that's what we do. We keep it moving. And so I say that to say, Losing My Religion is like a bigger, I won't say bigger, it's about humanity. It's about us as humans. It's about, you know, how, you know, it's about surviving. It's about, you know, all the different avenues by which and how we are hurting each other, right? And doing it all out of survival, right? Because we want to survive. We want to stay in this experience as long as we can. And the truth of it is, you cannot stay here, right? You just can't. How selfish would that be? All the other spirits who are waiting to come. You know, real talk. This spirit, people are waiting to be born. You know, so we stay and nobody else that's it.
Wow, you're going deep on me.
You know what I mean? So the work for me is like about losing my religion, the religion that was taught to me, right? The full on the religion of humanity. They're supposed like, you know, it's not true. The stuff that I was taught. You know what I mean? It's just not true. And so how do we begin to pull this back? You know what I mean? And and I think my meaning behind what I'm thinking about in regards to this particular piece is probably deeper than the work would actually be, but that's how I kind of started to go in, is really questioning myself. And what you may know this, and maybe a few people who know me know this, and I often talk about this, that when I was in high school, well, I went to elementary school. I think it was fourth grade. All right, I'll tell you this other quick story. I was from first grade to about fifth grade. I was in RE classes. You know what RE classes are?
I think so, yes.
Yeah.
Let's say it out loud for everybody.
I am going to say it out loud.
Okay.
Because I like saying it out loud. All right. RE classes back in the day, it was basically abbreviation for retarded education. So I was considered mentally challenged. And then so I, of course, by fifth grade, and here's the other funny part about that. I loved it. I didn't know I was in RE. So this is in hindsight, right? But I remember the difference and the change because it's killing the game. You know what I mean? I was spelling cat, dog, I had, 12 times tables, all of that. I was killing the game. I was the top of my class. But then that the jig was up. They realized I was regular. And I was basically, other folk who were actually slower in the class, I'm basically like showing them up, and I'm thinking I'm doing something. So I get skipped. So I got skipped to they wanted to skip me to the seventh grade. And my mom went up to the school and was like, no, and they put me to the sixth grade. And that shit was hard. I was with regular folk. I wanted to go back to fifth grade. That's so bad of me, right? So anyway.
Yes, it's so bad of you.
I know. I say that, because I think about all the things, like how people process other people and other humans, and how they judge people, and they look at you and they make a decision based on how they see you, and not realizing that, what you see is generally an illusion, right? Like supposedly all of this is even real. I mean, like the only thing real right now is this conversation and those people who are listening. And the only thing that's real, you can see, all you can hear, all you can touch. If your car is not in front of you, you don't even know if that shit still exists. There's no proof. Somebody could take a picture of it and send it to you, still not proof that it's there. Right? Who's to say that you open the door, when you open your door to your hallway, that the hallway just doesn't appear on its own?
Wow, you're going deep on me, Rennie.
You just can't prove. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, that's, and here's the thing, and that's why I try to keep my mouth shut. Because sometimes I can't. I try to deal and try to be happy and be like, and have push my own button, and but I think the art, me being blessed, being able to express the way I express, helps me go into those dark places that I often go. You know what I mean? And try to fight, that day-to-day depression or moments when you're just depressed. You know what I mean? And just like, man, I can't take this shit anymore. I was done at 28. When a boy said he was 28, I was like, man, I remember I was done at 28. I had called myself retiring, and I actually didn't. Yeah, I was like, I had a death wish. I was like, oh yeah, today I could die. It'd be great if I died today. You know, I would say this out, you know, just about because I was tired. I was done of like just all the madness of people,
Mm.
you know,
Mhm.
uh, and being a child victim of abuse and being and having had that experience, you know, it made me more observe to like I was more observant um of shit. So when I walk in a room, I count like I know all the exits at the Ailey building. You know what I mean? Like if some shit go down with the Alien building, you better run with me. You know, um, like so when I go into places, I'm automatically aware of the exits. I'm automatically aware of dynamics and sound, right? So if something, you know, we all are, we all have that, but I'm specifically making sure. So it's hard for me to sleep. I can't sleep because I hear the house all night. You know what I mean? Like I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, you know, um,
But you use dance as your saving grace or your outlet, right?
yeah, dance. And also one of the things you were asking about was, see, I come back around, don't I?
I know.
People
Love
always
you,
like,
Rennie.
yo, people always like Rennie on his mind. Oh, you don't know what he's talking about, but I remember it, but it just comes back in a weird way. So yeah, so most people don't know that I draw, and I've been drawing since high school, and um, and I've never done. I mean, I think I've sold maybe 2 paintings, um, but I just kind of do it randomly, right? The last time I painted before this year, I painted it was 2000. The time before that might have been 1990 something, and I go in and I'll do like 10 paintings or 10 or 15 and just go in for a while and then I just stop. And then it's almost like I have to learn it all over again when I get inspired to go in again and like, oh, how did I get this look? How did I get this thing? How did I, you know? And so this time, you know, because of the surgery, I had my iPad and I was like, oh, what's this draw thing? And I'm like, oh, snap. Dope.
Wait, wait. Did we say that you now have new body parts? We didn't get to that part.
Yeah, well, I said I had 2. I thought I said I have 2 new hips.
Oh, okay. All right. So
Yeah.
now
You
2
remember
new
I said,
hips.
you remember when I said, when I dip, you dip, we dip?
Oh, yes. Wait. So iPad, drawing. This is where you
Oh
are
yes,
now.
I went in and I just been drawing during COVID and some of it's affected by what's going on with the, you know, the movement. And I just been drawing. I did, you know, some of my sort of mentors have passed, you know, Don Campbell, Tyrone Proctor. So I did some stuff with them. I did some collages because I like to do collage as well. Normally I like to do collage in acrylic paint. But with this iPad, I was like, oh, this is great, you know. So I just started messing around with that. I started posting some things in regards to losing my religion. I'm gonna still post some stuff, some videos. I'm messing with video, and I used to do pantomime, so I'm gonna go back to do some pantomime stuff. When I was I think I was 12 or 13, I used to do pantomime for the church in the Catholic Church. Shut up. And, I can still create a mean wall, but so I did that for a while. We should do church. We should do parables in the Bible. It was the most embarrassing thing ever because we had to go into the hood. We were in the hood, you know. It was like missionaries. It's just when I think about this shit, like I think about it now, I'm like, oh wow, we were like, you know, white missionary, like how white folk like missionaries went into the jungles or whatever and going to convert some people. So that's what we were doing. We were going in. Like I know these cats, right? These cats is killers. These cats are like, you know, stick up kids. You know, I'm already catching wreck. I'm skinny. I'm short. I have no weight on me. I'm a dancer. People are trying to catch wreck with me every day. Like they want to rob me, fight me, you know, all that kind of stuff. So now my mom's like, you need to go down to church for the summer job and get yourself and make some money. Blah 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 blah. So I go down there because you know Lorenzo's a good dancer. I get it. I'm like, oh, this is pantomime. It was cool, but I didn't know we were going to hit the streets. So we hit the streets in the hoodie of the hood, right? I know these cats, I've seen them do shit. I was a young boy, so I saw this shit. I got white face on with white gloves, and I'm acting out the sower and the seed, the prodigal son, right? And I'm like, please don't know it's me. Please don't know it's me. That's Lorenzo. I was so marked. I was a mark in my own hood. So I
You
did.
can't hide from family.
Yeah, but they used to call me Riz back then. My family calls me Lorenzo, but my neighborhood called me Riz. So you hear, yo, Riz, that's Riz. Oh my God. And they just cracking up. And I'm like, but I got my $28 at the end of the week though. You know what I mean? So yeah, so the church played a major part, and I'm coming back to something I started, but I didn't finish. The church played a major part. And so when I got to high school, I actually was studying to be a priest. And I studied from throughout high school, the whole 4 years of high school, and then another year after that, because I was going to Divine Word Seminary in Bordentown. And so I did that for a while. Like I was, I don't know why I was doing it, but I know I love religion, but it was a moment where I got into it with a priest where he couldn't tell me. I was asking him about the Spanish Inquisition, the wars, and what they were doing. They were killing people, like, you know what I mean? Like, and he was like, well, that's, and he was just completely avoiding, and none of them could really answer the question. They didn't want to answer the question, and I was like, I'm done. And I became Rasta for a while. I still feel more Rasta in heart right now, and I feel like I feel more Rasta and Buddhist. So I became Rasta, went into that hardcore for, until it became like, a thing. Everyone had locks.
I know.
So yeah, so that's a little bit of maybe some stuff you didn't know.
I love it. Yeah, I just realized that it's almost time to bring Jay in, but you didn't do an introduction. I didn't, wait, you can't have a drink without me. Hold on.
Oh. I can't see you, right? It looks like I'm just talking to myself, which is
no, I'm here. But listen,
yeah, I hear you.
You didn't introduce yourself. Do you want to say anything about your family or where you are right now for 1 minute?
Well, I am. What am I? Lorenzo, born Lorenzo Harris. Artistic director Rennie Harris Pure.
Yes.
I have 4 children, of which let me mention one. So we were talking about earlier, real quick. My children sacrificed me to be here, like to be Rennie Harris, because I was never there.
Yeah.
Because in the mentality, the man mentality, I gotta make money from my family, but really not realizing their investment was being with your family.
Yeah.
And that if you're gonna be poor, you're just gonna be poor, But I had the mentality that I had to make money, take care of them, provide for them, and give them whatever they needed and wanted, but realizing also that's not really, it's slightly enabling, right? It's not.
Yeah.
Then you have to teach them the value of shit, right? Right. And so probably would have been best to just rock out poor for as long as I could and take it slow. But I was young, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And you're in California now, right?
Yes.
California.
So
home is Philly.
Yes.
Home is Philly.
So I'm on my way back in 2 weeks. I've been out here.
Right.
Yeah. So always gonna be Philly. Even if I actually live somewhere, I'm never gonna claim it. I'm Philly all day. But when I toured in New York, and I lived in was it right off of Houston in Soho. When I was in Prince and Worcester, when I lived in New York, and I
home is Philly.
You from New York? No, I'm from Philly. Where you live, Philly? Fuck that, no. Rep your spot. Like everybody got, the two coasts, they got enough light.
Yep.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like Philly needed, we in the shadow.
Yes.
We need it. No, I rep Philly, and anybody who's from Philly who don't rep Philly, I got a problem with them.
All right, we're gonna
That's
bring
real.
Jay. We're gonna bring Jay in for a minute, and y'all, come on in, Jay. Come on in, Jay.
Oh, was I supposed to drink when
Yes.
he came? All right. Can you see this?
I can see it. I can see it.
You remember where it started?
Yes. Jay, can you bring whatever it is you're drinking?
This I'm gonna show you the cup, but I'm not gonna lie to you. Our liquids look the same. It's not. Welch's, my black dance stories are sponsored by Welch's. Black cherry and grape juice.
Better get them little hairs on your chest, sir. That Welch's will do it.
I'm gonna let y'all have at it for a minute.
Yeah, I'm being the youth in the room, so I was like, you know what? I think I need to bring my Welch's out. Back when
There you have it.
No, Rennie, it's really a huge honor to hear you talk so much about. I took some notes, so I'm just gonna look over real quick and say I hear things around spirituality. I hear things about fatherhood. The quote of the investment is being with your family is really important for me to hold on to as I prepare to have children in my life at some point. So thank you for that. As well as hearing about, I think I mentioned mental health, and you talked about this being, the reality might be an illusion.
A little louder, Jay. Kind of, sort of not hearing you a little bit.
Why am I not? Come on, support me. I don't like projecting. But this is really it, Rennie. Like I have studied, as a Black person in dance, studying Black dance artists, doing things that I might want to do sometime in the future. I have definitely been aware of you, your move and your work. And I went to school with Emily Petruska. Yeah. And I said I work on her in school together. So, but when you said that you're shy, I was like, oh, thank God, because I also don't initiate conversations at bus stops. Like if I see you, I might sit down and be like, I'm here, but you have to start.
But it hurts us a little bit because, in this field, especially with presenters, they want to be all up in your griznell, be all up in your cipher, you know what I mean? And so, if you're not in this, if you don't let them in your cipher, I think that affects you. It affected me in the very beginning, you know what I mean? Yeah, so it hurt, but I don't think they ever even thought about it, like that I had to have 3 fucking drinks before I had lunch with them. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I had to have a fucking, I had to drink before I go to dinner. I had to be talked into I had to be talked into showing up. You know what I mean? Because it's just, I don't like to be in a lot of rooms. I don't like to be in rooms for too long. It gets a little skeevy for me. I jet out after performances because I can't really take it. You know what I mean? I begin to have even thinking about it, you have a physical feeling. And I know that's due to trauma, right? But, but it's cool. Why it's cool is because I know it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm aware of it and I'm pressing it, And so a lot of my stuff as an artist, and when I started my company, I was about your age. I was 28, 27. And so a lot of my stuff was happening. I wasn't even aware that's what it was. You know what I mean? So I was getting marred. I was like, Rennie's difficult to work with, or, stuff like your basic, because I come from a commercial world. So I did mostly commercial work. I did all the hip hop, like the Fresh Festival, Run DMC, Fat Boys, Curtis Blow, all that stuff in the very beginning. I toured with these guys. And so I come from that world. And so things are a little bit, it's cutthroat, but it's straight. At least you can see the knife coming before it cuts your throat. You know what I mean? And when I got into this business in theater, I never saw the knife coming. You know what I mean? And so until later, someone, so I started creating, I didn't call them allies, but now I have allies who hey, Rennie, you might want to just let I heard this, or boom, 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 because it's important to, navigate yourself. And it's just a little hard when you're younger, and nobody, not a single person my age who was in a position of power or authority ever pulled me aside and said, Rennie, I think you may want to do this instead of that. Let me help you if you have a problem with any presenters. Nobody did that. I had to learn on my own in a hard way.
Thank you for naming that, because I feel like even you just sharing your experiences, like you sharing your experiences, feel like now I'm being told. Like right now,
Yeah.
You just told me, right? Like there's something you should be aware of, especially. I have a similar story. I'll probably tell more of it when it's like my Black dance story moment. But like in this moment, thinking about all the energy it takes to just show up in a room at the galas and at the networking things that everyone's seeking to be at, like I start to lose feeling in my extremities. So like I feel like my inner child just like starts to shrink over time. And then when that child is too small to be present, I have to dip, like, so in this moment, being present on camera right now, like I've already lost fingers down to my fingertips, so.
Right. Got it. Yeah. So, I mean, it's a thing. And I don't know what that thing is. And part of, there's some people who rock out. It's what they do. I, on the other hand, felt like I didn't ask to be a choreographer. I didn't want to be a dancer. It fell into my lap. And so therefore I came into the business with no reverence. I didn't know who was who. I didn't know. I come from a place where, one of the tours, we were fighting, physically rumbling the presenter. We had to jump not the presenter in the theater, but like rap tour. We had to jump the promoter to get our money. Like I'm coming from, a whole other, with street dancers, it was like, thug, real, like back in the day street. I don't know about today. Back in the day, it's like you dealing with gangsters and who dance. And so, and I remember being in the Bronx. I got caught up in the Bronx, surrounded in a cipher, and they found that I was from Philly because they heard me talk. And they said, "Where you from?" I'm like, "From Philly." Philly? Yo, he from Philly. The whole, like, it's like the whole party stopped, and cats just start pulling out guns. They surrounded me and said, "You gotta dance against all of us, and until you dance against all of us, you ain't gonna get out of here alive." Now, I don't know how real that was, but I'm here.
Right.
Yeah, got it. But what I'm saying is, like, I come from a different place. And when you come from a different place and you get thrown into this other world, I'm drowning. I was drowning when Rennie Harris Pure Movement hit the ground. When we got the Brooklyn Academy of Music, I was drowning. I had no clue who was who and what was what. We looked up Baba Chuck, rest in peace. We looked up Baba Chuck in the history books. One of my Clyde, yo, look, that guy, he in here, this is him. You know what I mean? Like, I have no clue what a Brooklyn Academy of Music was. I didn't know what the Kennedy Center was. I didn't know the Lincoln, all these places. I don't know the history of them, Jacob's Pillow. And I didn't care. People would say, people were like, let's go on a tour. I said, no, I don't want to do a tour. I don't know. But they got like, I want to go to my room. Like, I don't want to see it. I didn't care. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there was a whole culture I wasn't taught and wasn't raised with.
Yes.
If you tell me Arthur Hall from Philadelphia, the African Jolly from Philadelphia, who rest in peace, I'm there. Yeah. You tell me Muntu, you tell me there's different folk. Like, okay, I know what that is. So it's like people, again, they just assume that you're in their world, and that's the privilege part that we've been fighting for, right? Like, you don't know about my world, right? Like, I had a woman say to me at some Mark Morris event, white woman walked up to me and said, you don't have to, whispered in my ear, you don't have to pretend you know who Mark Morris is. And I looked, so I ran it down to her. This is pre-internet. I ran the shit down to her and she looked at me. I said, yeah. I said, well, I make it a point to know, because I knew once I knew I was going into the theater world and I was on like white and gray, like the whole shit. I went to the library on the Parkway in Philadelphia, and I looked up these people in dance, Dennis Shawn, Teddy Shawn, Judson Church, the whole nine. I read about them, right? And I did it on purpose because I knew I would be in circles that people were like, I didn't know who was who. So when I ran it down to her, she looked shocked, and I said, "Well, yeah, well, can you tell me who Boogaloo Sam is?" And then I just kind of walked away with my little drink. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So people just think that they have they judge you and put you in a situation, especially if you have trauma that you may have or I may have. They are unaware of that trauma, and so they're already putting you into this sort of their sense of normalcy, and this may or may not affect you in the game. You know what I mean? So we have to figure out and be kind of smart about how we navigate in this business, so that if we do suffer from trauma, if most of us do, right? Then how do we begin to heal ourselves if this is the thing that heals us, right? I realized I'm supposed to stay in this game. I tried to 3 times. I fired my company 3 times. Yeah. And each time something, in my opinion, something divine. And the last time was at Brooklyn Academy of Music. I fired everybody after we performed at Dance Africa. That's Charmaine laughing. I came out the door, and this guy said, he ran into me. He said, "Yo," he said, "Man, you Rennie?" I said, "Yeah." He said, I just want to thank you for what you did." And I said, "Why?" He said, "I saw the show, and I saw the show last night, and my friend had bought me a ticket and bought me the show." And I said, "Okay, good." I was doing my regular, "All right, man, thanks. I'm glad you enjoyed it." That kind of thing, and trying to get goes. And he said, he had my hand. He held my hand. When people, they shake your hand and they hold on to it. So I was like, I didn't want to get rah-rah like them, because I think crazy shit like that sometimes. But he held on to my hand as I tried to walk away. He said, "No, you don't understand. I was going to kill myself last night, and I saw you guys, and that was the last time I tried to fire the company, because I realized, because 2 other incidences happened to me on that level, and this was the 3rd one, and I was like, okay, all right, I'm here. I'm gonna stay.
I hear that.
Yeah.
Dang, guess what I have to do? But good and bad.
Yeah.
Good and bad. Rennie, go bye, but go pause. Don't go nowhere.
See, y'all done did the wrong thing. I'm about to refresh. You got me up here all in my feelings.
I know. All up in your feelings. Rennie, see you in a minute. Don't go far.
I'm not far. I'm right here. I can
know.
Hear you here.
Jay, pull out the Welches and introduce yourself. I'm here for you, but introduce yourself. Oh, yes.
Thank you. I mean, look, I am experiencing a lot of anxiety based off what I'm talking about. So I think before I introduce myself, thank you so much, Mama Charmaine. Before I introduce myself, I just want to give some content notices and things based off of what I'm going to talk about, because I don't think there's any other way to talk about it than with the honest words that are going to come flowing through. So content notices on self-harm, suicide ideation, gun violence, death of children, pain of losing a child, and all other kinds of traumas that might be associated with girlhood. So my name is Jay Bouey. I took a bunch of notes. Let me just pull them up before I just start speaking for what I was going to say. I'm the child of Marcia Williams and Brian Bouey. I am the sibling to Naji, Maji, Ashley, Shahid, Ebony, Raven, Dominique, Leandra, Kiki, Andre, Sam, and Brianna. I'm number 9. I am a friend to so many. Yeah, I'm a friend to so many. So all my friends that are here, hello. I am currently in Brooklyn on Lenape-Hoking land, and I offer my respect to the Lenape people, past, present, and future. I am a Black, gender non-conforming, non-binary person who is also assigned male at birth. I am wearing some necklaces, some, I forgot what shells, some brown shells, and I'm wearing a labradorite stone that I wrapped. This is my first stone that I wrapped, and it's come back to support me. I'm wearing a tan beanie, what's this called? Camouflage, fatigue, tank top, in a room where my dresser shelf is to my left, or not dresser, dresser bookshelf to my left. And in my room where there's a Pokemon robe over my right. Was that it? That's all I gotta do? I think I did it. I'm wearing glasses too.
What you want to talk about?
Oh yeah. Okay. I want to talk about something that you may have heard about, especially if you live in Brooklyn or if you live in New York, in the tri-state area, or it may have been national news. To me, it happened outside. There was a shooting on Sunday, July 12th in Bed-Stuy that took the life of DeVell Jr., who was a 1-year-old child in a carriage. I was awake. I was in my bed getting ready to go to sleep, and right outside my window where I can, see the street and often just stare out the window before I fall asleep, I heard gunshots. And if you are familiar with the sounds of gunshots, you know that they're very distinctly different than fireworks. So the sound of a gunshot puts me into a trance, really, of counting, so I can count the gunshots. So I was counting, and what broke my counting, which honestly is really strong based off of growing up in South Central LA, was hearing a woman tell folks to get down. And that was my last memory. I know that I was in a state of shock because I don't remember hearing the mother in the street screaming for her child and calling out for her for hours. And my neighbor confirmed that that's what happened, because when I checked in about what was going on, that was a detail that I don't remember and would have definitely heard. And I know my body heard, and I know my spirit was hearing, but my mind has blocked out the memory to protect me to even be here in this moment. That's for me, I know that is a state of being triggered. And I know we've been using the word trigger and being triggered really, really often in our society. And I'm really happy that it's become more well-known so that we can talk about it. But I'm going to specify what I mean by being triggered. It is being thrusted back into a state to where your mind, body, emotions, and spirit are reliving traumatic events. So since that moment, I have been reliving countless traumatic events from growing up in neighborhoods like this, where I was also a child who had to respond swiftly and quickly to the sound of gunshots. I know that there are so many traumas that are related to growing up in neighborhoods that have resources stolen, who are under-resourced, who have had drugs pumped into the neighborhoods and guns pumped into the neighborhoods while they took factory jobs out of neighborhoods, and while they took opportunities to just live the American dream life out of our neighborhoods. I know that these traumas are a result of white supremacy, capitalism, and patriarchy. And I say that because I have family members who are also, who are either in gangs or gang affiliated, who have also sold drugs. And knowing the nuances of having to do that in this environment has expanded my empathy about like what one needs to do in these increasingly inhospitable environments. From that moment, I started to think about care. So as I've introduced that context, please take a moment. If you need to roll your shoulders, to move that energy around, to take deep breaths. I also invite everyone, like I'm starting to do more so in the performances that I curate, to invite you to leave if that's what you need. You know, like I think American theater spaces make it a faux pas to get up and leave. Please get up and leave if that means taking care of your life, your body. Put me on mute, close your laptop. You know what I mean? Like this is digital, so it's gonna be here when you know you can pick it back up from where you left off. So I just want to invite you to all the things you have access to do to take care of yourself. But in taking care of self, I realized, and I know that the trauma that I felt is felt in the vicinity. Everybody who heard it and experienced it in some level is experiencing trauma. Like trauma, I'm learning, has like an impact zone. So there's like ground zero, the persons and people who are most directly affected, and then it just like ripples out, and everyone has their own relationship to it. But we are all traumatized in some way. But I wanted to express care and get to know the family that was closer to the center of the impact of the trauma. But I had to accept the fact that I did not know them. Like I have been a Black dance artist in Brooklyn trying to do the damn thing and keep the rent paid. And this system has kept me from even being in my home long enough to even get to know my neighbors. So I was excited to, in some ways, take this traumatic opportunity to say, hi, I'm your neighbor and I'm here, you know, because I've learned that trauma eviscerates us. It like immediately puts us back into a primal human stage where connection is honestly the most binding force. I was in Trinidad for my for a residency a couple years ago with Makeda's with Makeda down there. And when we were in the house with her children, we experienced an earthquake. And for Makeda, she told me that was probably the worst earthquake that she's experienced ever living in Trinidad. I'm going to take a quick tangent real quick. We're going to get back to the earthquake. I know that I am like a child of destruction. And I mean that in the most divine sense. Like where I go, destruction tends to follow. And I mean that in a sense of like, ever since I was a kid, I've noticed the patterns of where we moved around a lot. And I noticed like moving from apartment to apartment building, when I went back, I was like, oh, that's destroyed. Oh, that's closed down. Or that's it. Like stores I've worked at, that's ended. And I've always felt a lot of anxiety about being like a child of destruction, essentially, or a harbinger of destruction, because like I get afraid to get close to people. I remember writing a poem in high school where I understood the symbolism of a rose in some like vague context of like looking beautiful but having thorns. I was just like, y'all, you may want to come out and reach, but every time I've noticed people get close, like I see blood on their hands and then I feel bad, like that was my fault. I understand that's not it, but I'm saying this like in a sense of like being in Trinidad, and Makeda saying that was the worst earthquake that she's experienced in her life, was like, and my brain was like, oh, I brought that too. But it was, and this is the thing that like being a child of destruction, like the challenge to learn and accept is that destruction is not good or bad. It is, you know, like, because in that moment, I was studying trauma. I was working on a piece about trauma. So I was already in the state of like understanding what happens to the body when we are experiencing trauma, that as soon as the earthquake subsided, I said, let's take the kids and go outside, get on some solid grounded land, and literally jumping jacks and push-ups and like cardiovascular work, because we had released so many stress hormones in our bodies from sustaining and in that fear survival mode with the earthquake, that I knew that we, in order to like protect the children, needed to help get our brains out of that mode so we know what to do. That led us to fixing things for the elders in the neighborhood. That led us to playing games with the kids. The power in the water is out, and people are like, well, I have this food here that I was cooking, I have this water. And then we all were able to like end the day with a party and loving on each other, as like the opportunity, like trauma broke us and eviscerated us down to our primal human state, and then we connected and bonded from that point on. The other option that trauma leaves us with is disconnection, and that's often where I've noticed, like me being a child of like growing up in the hood and things like that and experiencing these things, a lot of this life was not contextualized for me. So I didn't get to talk to anybody, and my feelings, my fears were not mirrored. Like my parents were taking care of the other adults in the neighborhood. My friends didn't really know what was going on because we were kids too. So I wasn't connecting after I was in those states of fear. I was just with myself. And what happens to us bodies and humans when we aren't able to connect is that we like become disconnected to humanity in those moments. It almost is like reality stops existing the same way that it did before. And unless someone can break the spell of like, I see this reality too, I noticed for me at least that it made me feel as though, oh, that never happened. And I dreamt it all because nobody else is feeling what I felt. So now I must be crazy because no one else is saying that they felt what just happened. And even when we were all in the same room, like we were all, why does nobody, what's going on? So I'm kind of piggybacking off of what Rennie said about like, is reality illusion and is life an illusion? Talking about open up the doors, your hallway going to be there. During this traumatic moment, I've literally opened up my eyes and saw a completely different physical world and had to blink and shake my head a few times to see the one that I am physically able to touch. So yeah, life and reality is under some illusion because it's not always there for me, specifically in this moment. And it's so the care comes in, like for me, learning how to ask for help, knowing what I'm missing and knowing how to get it. So I wanted to connect with the family of DeVell Jr. I have social anxiety. I'm already traumatized. I'm like freaking out every day. I'm like, when am I actually going to say something to these people? Like, we're just doors down. You know what I mean? Like, there's only so many days that can pass before you miss that window. I made a wonderful connection with the neighbor, and he met me on my doorstep, and we just had a conversation that morning and gave me some history about the neighborhood, which reflected back like this neighborhood has similar history to every other hood that I've grown up in. It started out this way about 20 years ago. It was really bad. There was all these traumas and shootings going on, and then gentrification hit. And in some ways, the complexities of gentrification is that it brings some good and it gets rid of some evils, and then it brings in other evils that you have to contend with as well. But he helped me. I was able to ask. I've done the work enough in my mental health to be able to say, hey, I live with social anxiety. I want to connect with this family. You're telling me that you're connected with this family. Would you mind would you mind connecting me with them? And that's what happened. I'm connected with them. I talk to them daily. It's now that opportunity to form connection instead of let this metastasized wall of disconnection grow is what happened. So I'm really thankful to my neighbor, Dwayne. I hope you're watching because I invited him to watch. I'm also thinking about care in the sense of like being traumatized and looking for support. Because I spent a couple of days ago, Charmaine, that was yesterday when you called me, and the day before, I was reaching out to people and I said, my friends, like, I need help. The friends who knew what was going on, like, I need help. And the question was, what do you need? And I was like, stuck. Like, I know I need help, and now what help do I need? Like, what is the thing now? And then for like living with mental health issues, mental illnesses, when someone asks you, what do you need? And you can't find it, that begins the anxiety all over again. So now in my brain, I'm searching for what I need. And then I realized enough time has passed, Jay, just tell them that you don't know. And now I'm like, oh crap, if I tell them I don't know, I just called them up to tell them I need help. And then ask me a simple question. I can't answer it. Silence. Like, and then on the outside, the world only sees that Jay is not responding. They only see that Jay body language is weird. They only see that Jay looks frustrated. They won't ever be able to see or understand all of this work up here that is going on that is not showing up. But I had a friend who was able to affirm. It felt like a spell was broken. I'm gonna keep calling it that because I was in this world where I was like reaching out for support, and I felt like a ghost that couldn't really connect with anybody, even my mother. And I'm gonna get to talking about my mother in a moment. Even my mother. So my friend essentially said, what do you need? And gave the context of, I understand if it's too difficult for you to articulate what you need, given all that you went through. Boom, flood. Like everything in me fell out, like in that moment, all because someone was able to see the weight on my back and say, I see it, like that was essentially all I needed. And I know that falls in alignment with like grief and how we need our grief mirrored and mirror neurons and early child development and babies. Their only form of communication is mirror neurons. And if y'all interested in learning more, type in Google and YouTube videos of baby and mirror neurons. You will see babies freak out if they smile and you don't smile back. Like they will lose their minds, like, especially if it's their mother too. Like they will be like, their safety is immediately gone. Yeah. And I think that we don't grow out of that. I think we grow around that. That is our primal need, is to have our grief, to have our pain mirrored in life. And for Black artists in communities, and as a Black artist who thinks of their community when making work, as opposed to the white folks who are in the audiences most times, like that grief is what I'm attempting to mirror back with my work. Like, I know you see, I know you experience this. I know you feel this. I feel it too. Let's sit here and feel this shit together. So I feel like I'm going. So I'm gonna take a breath. I'm gonna take a breath. You can take a breath with me if you like. I feel like when I spoke with my mother after reaching out for help, that the spiritual umbilical cord broke. And it was the thing. I think I have this synesthesia where I like hear colors and see sounds and things like that. I don't think any of those are mine. I'm learning more, but I can tell you more specifically, like when I'm crying or I'm in great emotion, there is a loud ringing sound that has many different frequencies that I feel in my body and hear. And when I call my mom, you know, some of us, when you call your mom, that's the last thing. For me, that's the last thing. I try not to worry her while I'm out here too much. You know, like I see a lot. She don't need to know about everything. So when I call her, it's often like the last step before it's way too much. So I'm crying on the phone with my mom late at night, and she sees a bug and freaks out, cries. I mean, not cries, but like screams and hollers, like snaps me, you know, a little bit. I was like, okay, like now my mom, I need to like hold this wall of, you know, back so my mom could be able to hear me. And as she was getting my dad to get the bug, I was listening. I was just listening for like when I would be able to come back in. And then I remembered I've had so many readings, astrology readings and readings on my life and tarot readings about my mother. And they all were reaffirming in so many different languages that this lifetime is destined to not feel as though my mother is able to mother me in the way that I imagine. And that truth that came back in that moment, where like like my mother is trying to be here. I'm trying to be here with my mother, and the universe said, nope, you don't get this. Remembering that and remembering how the universe, spirit, ancestors, God still has a play in all of these relationships is what snapped that umbilical cord, and everything went quiet. All of the ringing, all of the buzzing went quiet, and I accepted it. And I said, I just hung up the phone because I didn't have words. I was snapped into silence. And I texted my mom, like, I'm okay, but I'm going to bed. And because I live with suicidal ideation, I have a routine of telling people who are the people who are physically near me that you can get in contact with in case I don't get in contact with you in an alarming amount of time. So I did that. We actually talked to my mother about it later on that night. And it was, my mother and I have a very wonderfully transparent relationship. She is a very transparent woman. She's told me all of her deepest darkest secrets earlier than most people would assume telling a child anything. So having this conversation about this with my mother was easeful because that's just the playing field that we have in terms of communication. So I'm actually really excited to learn more about what that meant for her. But in thinking about mothers, thinking about Black mothers specifically, and reflecting on that experience with friends, and also imagining, because I can't possibly really know, imagining what it is like to lose your 1-year-old child to gun violence in a neighborhood that you probably grew up in and are familiar with, is something that made me recenter mothers again in my purview. And two friends, we brought up this moment in Sula, Toni Morrison Sula, where Hannah asked, spoiler warning, if you plan on reading Sula, just hold on. Hannah asks her mother in Sula, why didn't you love me or play with us or something like that? And her mother says, what do you mean? That's the silliest question I've ever heard. I stayed alive for you. that has me now thinking about the commitment to life in the face of the bullshit that my Black mothers and their Black mothers had to face to stay alive for their children. I think, and I'm learning the responsibility that a child has once we become adults to exercise thought around that, to just like, I know that I will never be a mother. Like, I don't have that. I know that I will probably parent, but I don't know what it's like to carry life inside of me and then see it also experience life in the world and be tethered to them and then to lose them. Also thinking on Beloved and Toni Morrison talking about writing through Beloved with the question of the only person who can really ask a mother, why did you take my life to save me from slavery? It would be the child whose life was taken. You know, like, these are the things, these are the questions, these are the predicaments, these are the environments that Black mothers had to go through since slavery and going on into now. And to have that energy here so present on this block, on this street, is also swirling around with the trauma. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's all of these things. So now I'm thinking about shame, because we're thinking about mothers, I'm also thinking about all the ways that I fucked up. You know what I mean? And all the ways that children do, and how my mother doesn't have shame around her actions. She doesn't have any shame. She knows what she needed to do. She knows what circumstances we were in. She knows where she fell short. And my mother is the first person, when we get into arguments, to come and say, this is where I was wrong at. So when I'm thinking about shame, I'm thinking about how, talking with my friend Janae, hey, Joe Weems, about how shame, and I'm sorry, before I talk about shame, I'm gonna talk about the definition of shame that is partially contextualized by Dr. Brene Brown. But I see it as the feeling that we are unworthy of love and belonging because of, and insert whatever, because shame does not care about what it wants to make you feel shameful of. You can put whatever in there, and if you feel unworthy of love and belonging because of it, shame has a hold of you. So I'm thinking about shame in relationship to this, because my mother didn't feel shame. I'm planning to raise children, and I'm learning that I'm going to have to forgive myself and have a practice of forgiving myself, because it took me about 2 decades to come to my mom and be like, I'm sorry about that thing. My bad. You know what I mean? Like, so the apology is not going to come no time soon. So somebody's going to have to forgive you. It's going to have to be right. So learning that in relationship to mental illnesses and being someone who I know now with the flashbacks and the triggers, that my anxiety is also rooted in having to navigate around the gunshots that will randomly break out. Rennie was talking about knowing exits and knowing and being really acute to dynamics and sounds. Like, that's how you learn to survive. You have to learn these things. You have to learn never to sit your back to a door. You know what I mean? You have to know where the exits are, all these different survival skills. And for me, in those moments, I remember these flashbacks, these triggers have reminded me that my body went still, the same stillness that I experience when I'm too anxious. Like, I freeze, and I can freeze for hours. I can freeze for days. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the anxiety is that real. No one really sees it because it's often in places that no one can see, but it's there. And I feel shame around it. Same shame around like my suicidal ideation. It comes up when I think about crossing streets sometimes, because in this triggering moment from this event, I had a flash of a memory that I definitely forgot, which was that during one of the drive-by shootings in South Central LA, actually it was in Compton, I wasn't at home, I think it was Long Beach or Compton, probably Compton. They wanted to shoot up the spot because somebody lost some money playing a game of craps or something like that, you know, that kind of stuff. And I was on some kind of bike, 7 or 8, or maybe even younger. And the SUV that was coming through to shoot up the spot was about to run me down. So I got triggered to seeing it, everything, the feeling, all of the fear that came back up within. I remember being saved by a woman that the neighborhood called the crackhead. She was the one who saved my life. So I feel shame around that in the suicide ideation part, because like, folks are like, there's so much to live for. You know what I mean? I think when some folks talk about life as if like it's so easy to live. Like, don't take away your life. That's the coward's way out. And it's like, this life is hard. But I also think about shame in the sense of like, we have so many people in our Black communities that we don't see. Like the woman who saved my life, she's a woman who probably did have her relationship to crack. But I remember growing up being taught not to see her, hearing the adults make fun of her, the kids are making fun of her. She's the one who saved my life. That put a lens on me seeing as many people as I possibly could, but also thinking about the shame that they might be holding on to. Because the man who told me that a 1-year-old child was killed when I sat on the stoop that first morning was a man that the neighborhood would associate as like an addict of some sort, but he was also the 1-year-old's grandfather. So it's like, we aren't like, I'm thinking about how in this moment when we are, Black Lives Matter is really important and we're doing the work, and I'm challenging myself now to continue to get rid of the shame, not only for me so that I can help others through my art, through my dancing, through conversations, let them know that they're still worthy of love no matter what actions they've taken. And not even just show them that or tell them that they're worthy of love, but show it by talking with them, by sitting with them, by being with them. I think that's all I got.
Gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Worthy of sitting with them and talking to them. Can we talk about that's why we're here?
Yeah,
sitting
right.
with them and talking with them and sharing that was a cheesy transition, but yes.
Oh.
Rennie, come back in. I'm gonna go and just a gazillion people are here. The shout outs. Of course, Ava Ya is here. Ava Ya, Asante Wa.
Ava.
Stephanie Batten Bland, the first one. Ron Alexander is here. Jamal Barnes, woo, woo. Gabri is here. Gabri Janae. Joe Malillo is here.
Oh, wow.
What? Carla Peterson, yeah, Carla. Gabri, Jamal, A.K. Jones, Betsy Cooper. Hey, Renee Redding Jones. I'm scrolling so I can get some names in here. Lots of people. Makeda is here. Makeda is here. All right, so I'm gonna start with some of these questions, and y'all can keep dropping the questions. Some of these are questions, some of these are statements.
Jay, real quick.
Wait, what you doing? What are you doing, Rennie Harrison?
Oh, he just dropped it.
Oh, okay.
I just give him some love real quick.
Oh, you were dropping it to Jay. I'm sorry.
Love no introduction. I got it. Thank you.
Stop it. All right. Oh, Kate Mattingly asked earlier if Lazarus was available. Ailey is doing all Ailey access, I think it's called. So they ran Lazarus a while ago. I don't know if they're going to do repeats. And Gabri's asking this question to you, Rennie. Considering your experience being wheelchair bound, how do you think you will work with disabled artists? Will you? Has it created another sense of empathy?
It was interesting. I felt like I've always had a sense of empathy. I have a brother who's mentally challenged. And which doesn't qualify me, of course. It just, to say like I feel like that sense of empathy had already, like, I often wonder what he's thinking. He can't speak, so it's just kind of like I'm off there, I'm like always inquiring about that, and having this moment actually pulled me closer to maybe understanding. Like just having a moment like, wow, is this like a whole nother view or just a small little teeny bit of a insight, right, to some stuff. But I would love to work with disabled. Are you kidding? What?
Bring it.
Yeah, I mean, and that was pre wheelchair bound, right? Like like, I think as a director, as a choreographer, we often, that's the challenge. Like, make these leaves do some stuff, or make this, you know what I mean? Like we always get like, can you do this? And can you, of course we get irritated by someone trying to make us do shit like they with their vision of something, but it's also the challenge, right, of that. And then how do you connect that? How do you, so yeah, I'm definitely down. I'm definitely down for that. That's a blessing. Shit, that's a come up.
This is from Stephanie Batten Bland, who everybody should know was the first with Ayodele Cassell for Black Dance Stories. Stephanie said, "You better Sun Ra us back to the present." Go ahead, Stephanie. That was early on. And wait, and Renee Redding Jones said, "Genius is often misunderstood by the so-called normal people." It's a statement. And this is for both of y'all. And I think Rennie answered it already, or Rennie responded to it. But Ava said, "Is that shyness or introversion?" Which I identify with. Any one of you all want to take that one on? Because both of you said shy. I didn't know this was going to be today.
But for me, and I'll be quick so just respond to it. For me, I think it's both. I think it's a combination of both because they feed each other. You know what I mean? And depending on the environment, I had an ex-girlfriend who wanted me, and we were together for a long time, like 10 years or something. Like, and she said, it's interesting. Depending on what people say to you, you will open up. But if they don't say it a particular way or use a particular word, you just give them one shot answers. You know what I mean? It's just about how to engage someone who, when I began to think of myself as like, oh, I'm really kind of introverted, or, you know what I mean? Then researching how I used to stand in the corner on purpose as a child,
Jay, you wanna attack that one too?
Yeah.
Or respond, not attack. Sorry.
I'm definitely an introvert, and I understand the definition of introversion as like getting some energy from being alone or with smaller groups of people, and that is 100% true. I would say I'm also shy, but that's contextual. Like introversion is like forever, all the time. Doesn't matter how wonderful I'm playing in front of y'all. Like I'm going to need a lot of time by myself to recharge. But with the shyness, I think it's contextual, similar to what you're saying, Rennie. Like depending on what people say to me, depending on what's in the room, I will know if I can play a part or just take a step back. And I tend to watch a lot longer than when I engage. Like for some folks, I'll be like, I think that might contextualize some of the ways I've been able to move through dance world and have like perceived ease is because like the first year I got here, I was like, I'm not making no work. I'm seeing what's going on out here. Like, who are y'all? And running into rooms and not knowing nobody and being like, let me go home and do a quick Google, So before I go someplace, before I even set foot somewhere, I will sit back on the outside and watch it for a while just to know what it is. And if it even is a place for me to be in, I think that's what shyness helps me learn. Like not every place is for me. That's all right.
But that time is, I love being by myself.
Okay.
Yeah, I love it. Like this is like COVID. What? Like mom is in happy land right now. You know what I mean? And just wanted to speak real quick on like the parent part. If it was not something that Jay has said about living for your kids, if it wasn't for my kids, I wouldn't be here. I'm too afraid to like do it for real. Like I'm allergic to pain, and so I literally just walk away. I would walk away, even at this height. If my kid said to me, "We no longer need you right now, and you're good," I would drop everything and walk away.
But you're here for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They need me. You know how you like, yeah, y'all need me. Yeah. like, but my dream is to go off and just meditate and go off into some mountain. Like there's a fantasy, go off somewhere, some someplace far reach, nobody can find me.
Okay.
Get a teacher and just go and pray, man, and I'm done.
I'm gonna let y'all know. Can I share something with you, Rennie? I think you might like this.
Yeah.
My plan in life, when I get to a certain point, I'm thinking midlife crisis area. I don't call, and like in astrology, that's like when Saturn goes opposite again. When I get to that point, I think I'm gonna just stop and I'm gonna go off to Alaska. I'm gonna take my little ducats. I'm gonna sit off in Alaska in a small oil rig town or something, and I'm gonna work on my singing skills. And I'm gonna be that dude at the local karaoke singing it down that nobody knows. Get a record contract, and you're gonna be like, "Hey, I thought check." Yep, that was me. Start a whole new life.
I was with you to the karaoke part. Because that's part not the karaoke. My dream is like, I just need a room with a bookshelf and a bed, and I'm good, and a window. That's it. Those three things, I'm good. I don't need all the other stuff.
Y'all are not shy on stage. Y'all are not introverts when I see you dance. I'm sure people in the chat are probably saying other things, but what happens then, my sweet ones? And we only have about 3 minutes, by the way. Boo. What happens?
I go in. Like when I'm performing personally, I go in and everything goes out the door. I'm trying to make you feel as uncomfortable as possible. If you've ever seen me perform solo, most of my work is about the sort of cathartic pain of my trauma, right? For my solo work. But it's about I want you and not so much as a thing to hurt you, but I want you to like feel what is going on inside. And if I can bring what is happening inside out, then that's possible. And then maybe there's one person in the audience, just one, who is connecting. And that one person, because I believe one person can always make a difference and always change the world. And so my goal is to reach the one person with my honest and truthful on stage.
Jay?
Yeah. I don't know what to say who I am on stage. It's so weird in the sense of like, I would say my preparation for performance is often I have to block out the day. Sometimes I have to block out the week to meditate, to talk to my ancestors, to get the energy to be on stage, because I don't want to be there. Like, in all honesty, this life does not want to be there, but I know what the calling is. I know what the mission is. So I sit with them and I ask them to use me like a vessel. So I feel like when I'm on stage, what you experience on stage is the energy flowing through. But my experience on stage is being the gate and keeping the gate open.
Yeah, there are so many more questions, but it's 27 past. Let me do some statements and maybe we can get another question in. But, okay. Kate Mattingly says our society is constructed for extroverts. There's a great book called Quiet. Boom with that. And I think it's Kimani that said, you better talk the mother talk, both of you.
Yeah.
Ava says we have to give ourselves time for the grief, which has its own relationship to time.
Yes.
Deep. Kyle Marshall says, away with shame. Kyle is on next week, by the way. Renee Redding Jones says, Jay, thank you for such an open-hearted sharing. And Tony's asking a question, but I don't know if we can get to it. Maybe you two can try quick. Can both of you speak to the music that inspires you? What gets in you? What brings you out? Quick response, though. I hate to say that.
Real quick, right now is Jacob Banks.
Hey.
If you don't know this cat, I'm about to go off. I got a few songs I'm about to go in the studio on him right now. Like this cat.
Jacob Banks.
Yeah.
Jay?
I will say Leon LaHavis's album, it's her self-titled album, and specifically a song. No, I'm not gonna do it. It's the whole album. It's the journey. Like, play it, put yourself in a dark room, lay on your back, get the messages. But Mama Charmaine, I just wanted to ask if I could share something about shame. I realized I wrote something important, and when Kyle said away with shame, I was like, oh, right, this is how to get shame away. Understanding that shame loses its grasp on us the moment that we speak to it and acknowledge that it's there. It withers away and weakens when we share it by name and it is affirmed. So when we share that we experience the shame and someone's like, I see that too, it also withers away. And then we get our power back when we have faith in our worthiness of unconditional love and belonging. And also want to give the last thing that the cycle often repeats, and that's okay.
Wow. So I think I have something that follows it. It might be a question, but let's have it as a statement. From Michael Sakamoto, both of y'all are clearly masters of wielding vulnerability as power. And it's a gift for the community as well. That's kind of big. I love y'all.
Shout out to Michael Sakamoto. You know, him and I did a project called Flash. He's a beast. So just so y'all know.
Michael, it's time. It's time to go.
Yeah, that's major. That's like you got to put that on the thinking board. You need a thinking board that just post out all the great stuff that was said.
Hey,
and people can come back to that.
Gabe is gonna work. Gabe is working on this website for us. There are people that are actually sending in stories that we want to put up. So this is just big. Thank you. I don't know if I missed anybody, but I think I got everybody to thank. And come on back, Kimani. Come on back, Nick. I don't know if Gabe is still there. I don't think so. I don't know if Tony's still there, but we want to say, oh gosh.
Thank you.
We love y'all.
What?
We love you all. We love you all.
What?
Tony wants to play some Jacob Banks on our way out.
Nice.
I don't know if you can even hear it, but next week.
Yes. You got to groove while you say it.
I know, he's playing it.
Good, talk over it.
Next week is Kyle Marshall and Okwi Okpokswahili. Okpokwasili. I said it wrong. Okwi and Kyle. Boom!
And peace out to Kyle.
Yeah.
And please remember, if you can, please donate. These are amazing people sharing their love and life, and we want to support. So thank you. Thank you, Rennie. Thank you, Jay.
Thank you, Kimani. Thank you, me.
Thank you, Jay. That was inspiring, brother. Always looking for those words myself, you know what I mean? So that helps.
I love that we're all here. All of our people, Black Dance Stories.
Yes.
Tune in next week. You got anything to say, Nick?
Thank you guys for coming tonight. It was really, really powerful to hear what you had to say. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Jay and Rennie, not you, but bye, everybody. Thank you for coming. We appreciate